Thank you for coming, everyone, to tonight's Conservation Café, Activism, Agriculture, and Stewardship in the Cedarville land of Piscataway Indians from the personal perspective of Valarie Proctor, who is our wonderful guest, who is an activist, an educator, a farmer, a member of the band, an environmental activist, and so many more things. I think you're going to hear directly, of course, from Valarie about themselves, and I think you'll all just really enjoy speaking and hearing from them. So I'm Eliza Cava. I'm the Director of Conservation at Audubon Naturalist Society. We're the oldest independent environmental organization in the Washington, D.C. region. Independent because we are not part of National Audubon in any way, and we've always served just the D.C. region. The D.C. region stands on the homelands of the Piscataway community, as well as many other Native American, Indigenous communities who have more limited presence or no more presence in the area, like the Nacotchtanks. I live in Washington, D.C. That's where I'm broadcasting from. And at Audubon Naturalist Society, we enjoy, we learn, and we protect nature. And part of the conservation program's work is to reach out and bring diverse voices and perspectives on what conservation means. And that's one of the things that Valarie and I have been speaking about. What is conservation in the context of her work and lived experiences? And so I hope you're all as excited as I am for this conversation. And I want to say that at the same time as it's exciting, it's also going to be chill. We're just going to be talking. And again, you can join us by interacting with one another in the chat and with Val and myself in the Q&A. So I'm going to let Val introduce himself personally, but I just want to say why we're here with Val, which is that we came to know Valarie in 2019 when we had heard in the fall of 2018 about the Origis solar farm proposal in the Nanjamoy Peninsula of Charles County, and didn't really have the capacity to take it on, but I was able to hire two fabulous advocates, Denise Guitarra and Ari Eisenstadt, and they heard about this problem of this poorly sited solar farm on privately owned family lands, but forested, that had been previously timbered, but maybe a generation prior, and it had quite a healthy forest on it, and it's in the middle of a otherwise relatively intact forest ecosystem overall that spans far beyond the property that was considered for the solar plant. And so we were very upset about it. Forest, clean water, the lungs of DC. We made all these great arguments that why we should protect Origis, but we also began hearing through introductions and conversations with Piscataway tribal members who work with the Accokeek Foundation, and with others. We eventually came to know Val, that the lands of the Nanjamoy Peninsula are not only the former homelands of the Piscataway tribe, but the current homelands as well, and that it's very much an issue of cultural heritage and sovereignty. And Val spoke so just so movingly and persuasively and convincingly, and was sort of the node that brought together an alliance that was a first for me in my career of environmental groups working on a really specific, very land-based issue with with Indigenous activists who live nearby and who really were focused on that issue from a sovereignty perspective. It was new to me, and it was an amazing experience to see my issues from Val's lens. And Val was very generous in sharing about their motivations and interests and culture. And so also they've continued to be just an amazing communicator. Val identifies not as a leader of the tribe, but as a young person who is growing and having their own experiences. But they're also an incredible communicator and ambassador. And that's why we've been really honored to be able to invite them here tonight. So Val, I'm going to leave you to introduce what you're working on and anything else about who you are after just sharing how we've come to know you. Oh, and this is Val's second Conservation Cafe. I don't think anybody else has done two Conservation Cafes. In fact, because last January you did the Youth Climate Activists of Washington, D.C. Conservation Cafe right before the pandemic. So thanks for coming back a year and change later on your own this time.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, thank you for having me. That was actually one of the last in-person things, not quite, but like one of the last in-person things I attended. So I still feel like I'm like partially stuck in the past, and I'm like that, that wasn't even that long ago, but it was literally over a year ago, which is so crazy. But thank you for that intro. I don't even know what to add because you just went in on and told everybody. And then some like cool things, and I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I'm not exactly even sure what to add. You've basically summed a lot of it up. I'm born and raised here in my ancestral homelands of what is currently known as Maryland. I'm a member of the Cedarville band of Piscataway Indians. Um, the people I come from, I love so dearly and so much. And I currently am a farmer, and my work, or I guess my love for the earth, is part of what has brought me to this work and to working with the land. And I'm feeling a lot more like I'm becoming more in line with my purpose here on earth. And I know that my purpose has something to do with being close to the land, and in better relation with the land than at least where I was before. So I know I'm in the right place, or, maybe not the right field just yet, but I am certainly, I'm getting closer. It's feeling more and more right. I work for two different places. Right now, I have at the last Conservation Café, I was still working for, and I still do work for, Activism Foundation, located in Activism, Maryland, on in this national park called Piscataway Park, which is a really sacred place to my people. And the foundation has a place within the larger part of Piscataway Park there. I spend a lot of time there. And my other job is to work in a market garden here at what is called Choptico Farms, which is a new business that has what is the word I'm looking for? But it was born out of Sylvan Aqua Farms. I guess that's what I could say. So Sylvan Aqua Farms, which is a Black Indigenous owned, or Piscataway owned, I should say, a Piscataway owned farming business. And yeah, that's where I've been all this time in quarantine.
Farming outdoors.
Yeah.
And they deliver to the DC area, everyone. So they're not
Yo,
farms.
you will arrive to your doorstep.
I've looked them up. um, so thank you, Val. And again, just, thank you for coming. One of the things that I know is important to you is, as you said, how much you love your family, and you're a member of a family, a clan, a band, and a nation. And I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about how that web of relationships guides your work and decision making.
Ooh, yeah. So I think, yeah, well, I'll first just restate again. I'm a member of the Cedarville band of Piscataway Indians, Wild Turkey Clan, which is, more specific about where it is that you come from. So, Wild Turkey Clan is my people. I think like overall having family ties that are like very close, or just like coming from a group of people who are really tied to their identity as a group of people, identifying together, has really guided me, not just in like my work that you've seen me do or been a part of, Eliza, but I guess like everywhere in my life, really, it's impacted everything. But I guess more specifically, like it's guided my work here in like conservation or environmental activism and things, in a way that's like always I always have on my mind. I'm always constantly reminded that like I am like from here, from these lands. I love them, and they are my ancestors, and it's what, like, these lands are like my ancestors. Like, my ancestors are buried here, but also they're everywhere I look. So I feel a sense of even responsibility to just be protecting what I know we come from. Like, um, so I know it's a difficult thing for a lot of people to wrap their minds around, and it even gets frustrating trying to explain it to people sometimes because I don't even have anything to compare it to others. Like, um, to just like get them to see and understand. So I often get frustrated and just give up altogether. Um, but yeah, I feel completely just like guided not just by my family and our values and our ways, but like by, I guess, even the voices in a way of my ancestors who are just constantly here, um, every day and night. Um, yeah, I
Oh,
think, yeah.
I mean, that's both profound and also, of course, they're here, so you're here.
Right.
Um, I can see how that would be very hard to try to explain many times.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like made it me feel more passionate for what I do. Like, I'm not just doing environmental activism and, you know, like trying to mobilize to get everybody to this hearing or grab a microphone and talk to people about why the environment's important. Like, I really feel like I have a solid reason to, like, it's a deep reason. Like, the reason goes deeper than me just like liking to go outdoors and like enjoy, you know, hiking up you know, through the trails or something like that. Like, I feel like I'm protecting so much, uh or I'm, you know, I'm attempting to protect so much when I'm out here. And I know I'm not alone. This is something I've discussed so many times with like other Indigenous activists and organizers that I know over the years. Like, we've all said that there is something that is like, you know, we know why we're here, but the other reasons why so many people, like more like non-Indigenous or other, or even like specifically white folks who show up as into these spaces as organizing and activism and conservation and such, mm, they're here for different reasons than us. And it's like, um and I feel like it even creates a frustration sometimes when we're organizing in a particular way. We want things to go in a particular direction as Indigenous organizers and Indigenous peoples and communities. And it's like the other folks who show up, even in support, are not quite understanding just the severity of the issue, or are failing to understand why our voices need to be centered. I mean, all the frontline folks do, but I guess I'm speaking more about, you know, Indigenous folks and especially ones on the front lines. I mean, we're all on the front lines, but yeah, um, yeah, I see some like headbutting at times too.
well, that was a specific question I had for you, which is, um, you know, you've been a climate activist. You've worked in the solar industry, so you have a lot of relationship to the sort of mainstream environmental movement, and you've described some of the frustrations. Um, so, do you see any movement there? Do you see that, for example, the Line 3 pipeline, Dakota Access Pipeline, the Keystone XL pipeline, there are some major fights in the Midwest that are becoming victories where the climate movement is supporting the Indigenous frontline leaders there. Um, do you see that? First of all, do you think is that working? Does that seem, is it legit there? Like, is that what you want to see? And then also, have you seen that elsewhere?
I think I understand your question. Um, I feel like the way you define success, what you just said, is kind of what uh, changes the answer, I guess. And I feel like oftentimes, I guess it's like success, getting attention to our issues is like, I guess in a way successful, but it's not solving the problem, you know. It's not like, you know, we're just getting attention and some more like uh momentum behind our issues and the things that, you know, we're all facing. Like for example, line 3, but like line 3 is still here. Like line 3 like is still a threat. And
That's
I'm not saying that's like my battle at all. I'm just giving an example of one that I know is very much so alive at the moment, unfortunately. Wait, were you gonna say something?
I was just going to say that Keystone did get killed. Its permit is done. So there's one of the many, and that's what I was referring to as success. But you're right. We don't know if the others are going to happen or not happen, and what's going to go on. And then just because a pipeline doesn't come in, does that mean that the sovereignty of those tribes is respected, and
Yeah,
that there's other intrusions, right?
exactly. Yeah, and there's still the whole issue of like, uh, what level, I guess. Too. There's so many issues actually. I'm having a hard time even staying on one track. Yeah, are tribes even like recognized at a level that we deserve to be recognized, and are we able to like all live in the ways that we should have been living all this time? Like, do we have access to land? Like, do we have access to clean water at the end of all of this? Do we, like, the pipeline is like pipelines are really big issues because they're like threatening to just like our homelands, but also it creates like a lot of scenarios of violence in several different ways, the violence of the lands, but also violence of the bodies of so many people, specifically indigenous people. But like, I guess what I'm trying to make sure I say is that I feel like while there's a level of success, I often feel like it's still not enough, you know? There's still so much more to do, and I even feel like the movement itself wasn't like conservation wasn't even born out of like the right reasons. I mean, y'all, like folks like yourself who are a part of like a conservation movement and or organization, a part of a movement, and so many others are like, um, you know, like awesome people who are taking action on issues, and you do that for a living, which is cool, and great. But I still feel like, how do like the conservation movement itself wasn't born out of like the most like the best reason. It was actually, it was for some really messed up reasons. And I would imagine that, you know, the story of like John Muir and um like I remember actually Chris Newman before I ever worked for him at Silvanaqua. It was a while ago. It was actually at Activism Foundation. He had come to do a talk for one of our Land and River series, and he was talking about conservation. Um, and like that guy just like takes a microphone and just like goes off and talks, and but he says like so many amazing things. And I remember one of the things that he said, and it, I love the way that he had put it. um he said, and I'm totally gonna butcher this, but like basically the gist of what he was saying was that like conservation was like born out of the, like somebody like John Muir, for example. um it's created like this big, what I guess sense of white guilt. Like I think it kind of even runs off of a sense of white guilt at times. Like, oh, like white people realizing, oh, well, we really messed up. We were really destroying the world, and we hurt a lot of indigenous people and killed a lot of indigenous people. And now we need to make up for it now. This is where I should I should do this. I feel obligated now. It's like there's a sense of guilt that's like kind of fueling this, which I don't know. Well, yeah. But like I guess one of the things about the beginning of like the conservation movement that frustrates me is just like the creation of it, and John Muir's name comes up like I mentioned before. And I remember Chris Newman was talking about this part, um, where like the John Muir model basically saw like these beautiful landscapes and these forests and these waters and these beautiful places, and it was like, oh, we need to protect them. These are beautiful. We need to make sure that nothing ever happens to these. Um, but in his eyes, it was like there were still people living on those lands, and those, like, for example, like these big national parks like Grand Canyon or Glacier, or these really famous ones out in the country or around the country. Yeah, all of these indigenous people live there because that's their ancestral homelands. And John Muir sees a problem with it, and to create the space that he's trying to create, whatever that space he's trying to protect, I don't even know what the word protect even means at this point. He has to force indigenous people off of that land using force and violence to do so. And um, yeah, it's like we've been displaced from our homelands in the name of protection. And it's, yeah, what does protection even mean? And who is protection even for? And that's why it's like this movement, it kind of irks me sometimes because I see people with different, they're not, a lot of people still aren't listening to us. And I'm like, what are you showing up into this space for? Like, why are you even, like, what are you protecting, or what are you here for? Because I know that I came here to really protect where I came from, and the earth and the water and all of my people and our ways. And so, yeah, I came here with like a mission to protect what I love and to protect what is love. Yeah.
Well, that's heavy, and I feel a defensive reaction in myself, like I want to tell you why I protect, nature, but that's not. It's really neither here nor there, because the question is for all of us, to, and you're asking folks to examine our motivations, but also to examine our actions. Like, as you said, I work in conservation during the day, and I am paid to do so. And then I go home. And when I'm at home, I don't have to be thinking about conservation, whatever that may be, stewardship, whatever that may be, protection, whatever that may be. I can think about something completely different. And my family is not tied to this land, although I love it. And I feel growing more and more tied to this land, but I only have, a couple of years here. I don't have generational depth of connections. So I guess what I'm saying is, I guess what I'm saying is we want to be good allies. We do. And what does that mean to you? What would it mean to have allies who have, whether examined ourselves or whether we're acting in the right ways, really acting? What would be the actions that allies should take? Unless you want to say what are the things allies should think about to help ourselves, help you.
um, yeah, I feel like that's a big question. I could talk about that for a long time. Um, there was something else you said that I kind of wanted to touch on. Well, I guess there's so many things. Well, for one, I feel like allies need to find a way to have a deeper understanding of the ways that indigenous people think. And I think the only way to do that, honestly, is besides giving us the floor and the mic and listening to our stories and really believing us and hearing us and making space for us. I don't even actually want to say making space for us. Actually, just give us land, first off. Give us land. There's no reason why we shouldn't. Like, I think about this every single day. Like, I can't do what it is that I actually want to do with my life. Like, farming is great and I really like it. And if I was somebody who wanted to do something for a career, I'd feel like, yeah, farming is probably it. I'm still like trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. But yeah, farming is it. But like, if what I really want to do is just like be on land to basically live as close as I possibly can into the ways that my ancestors did. And, you know, before we were like colonized and forced to work for an economy and create an economy and to get capitalism to work and function, like I have a duty to love and serve and protect my family and my people, but also this land that feeds us and does everything for us, sustains us every single day. An ally is just going to do what they can to make sure that we can do that. Like if you really about it. Cause that's the thing that I hated actually about the way that you and I met when we were at the whole campaign
for the Origis.
yes, for Origis Energy plus Georgetown University versus everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that I was like thinking that whole time that land that those people, it was a the largest contiguous forest in Maryland is in Charles County, and it's owned by like some white folks who are just like, I can't pay taxes on it anymore. I need to I need to do something with it that's gonna, you know, put money back in my pocket. So they decide to, for those of y'all who weren't following the campaign, this was literally something where this guy says, I need to chop down all these trees so that we can put solar panels on it. And then Georgetown University was like, yeah, we need solar. Um, and there was like a third party with Origis Energy, which is from Florida, came up here to basically do the job. But we packed the the courthouse or some building where the hearing was being held.
Yeah, like a hearing room in La Plata.
Yeah, in La Plata, mobilized enough people to come, and eventually it was called off. Like they didn't get the permits that they needed to do it, but I'm just like, the whole time that I was there, I was just like, man, this guy has the most precious piece of my ancestral homelands that hasn't been bulldozed or used to create like a shopping center. It's not a parking lot. It's not a place that's been used for lumber. Oh, actually it was used for lumber, but it's not completely gone. It's still like the largest contiguous forest. And there's like one of the best water quality of all the creeks left, or yeah, creeks left in Maryland. It flows right through it. And I'm like, who else should have this? Who else should have? Why is this dude who only has it because he colonized my people and through some violent, I want to cuss so bad, but we talked about this. Through some violent mess, decide, yeah, and then still sits on it and then wants to build it. Like it's just a commodity to him.
Right.
Like I'm thinking about me and my family and the rest of like the future generations after me. And this dude who has 500 acres, which I don't even know what this dude is going to do with that. Why, if he was an ally, if anybody else was like an ally, y'all would really be trying to get me this land, because that's something that I had my eyes on at that moment when I was like fighting for it. I was just like, it just needs to be there. It needs to exist. I'm not trying to occupy. I'm not even trying to live on it or nothing. I just want it to exist, and I want it to be there for everybody. It just needs to be protected because the county that I've always known and my father has always known and my whole family is disappearing. It's just becoming this like concrete, slowly it's looking more and more like Montgomery County every day, and it scares me. I don't want it to look like Montgomery County. It's way too overdeveloped, at least the parts of Montgomery County I've seen. I don't know about all of it, but
There are beautiful, beautiful parts of Montgomery County, but you're right. Yeah, Charles County is getting very sprawled. Yeah. Um, I wonder if I could ask you. There's my mind went in a couple directions. Things I wanted to follow on there. Um, um, and one was to ask you to talk about the land back project.
oh yeah.
So I think it seems to me, I don't know for sure, but coming out of that, you were like, how do we get this land? And you and some relatives put together this project idea of the land back project. And I wonder if if I pull that website up and show the screen, would you talk to people about it
Yeah.
and your goals were and thinking about it and what you think it could do? Because
Yeah.
I'll tell everybody, I'm a monthly donor to the land back project
Oh,
after I heard about it. Yeah. So I'm trying, it's not a lot. I can't buy the parcel of land myself. But once I heard about it from Val, many tribes around the nation have started making this argument to pay a land tax if you live on their ancestral homelands. And so the Land Back Project has set it up. So I'm going to stop there and let you talk more, but I'm going to open up so people can see.
um, yeah. So the land back project was basically like I it was something that was not originally like our idea. I mean, we probably several of us have probably come up with like a similar idea before, but um there was a time when I was like, I don't even know how I found it actually. It was somehow on the internet. Sogoriote, um I think I'm actually about to look it up just so I don't. Um there's like so the Sogoriote Land Trust, which is over in um California, started by these indigenous women. It's basically like something that inspired us to create our own version of it. So we hit them up, and I was with like Natalie Proctor and like Crystal and my sister, and we were all on the phone with these women. We're talking about like, how do we do something like this on our own? And what it basically is like they start this land trust that is all indigenous owned, and basically they're just trying to make sure that they can get access to land put into a trust so that they and their relatives have a place for them to live and exist as we should, but also um, having a place for ceremony and having a place for different events, or having a place to grow food and having, a place for everything that you could possibly want and ever need. And so, yeah, I remember I immediately showed my cousins this, and yeah, we jumped on the phone with them, try to figure out a way, and this was like last summer or fall, and try to create this ourselves. We came out with the Piscataway Land Trust, which is now called the Land Back Project. And it's run by the Cedarville band. It's on their website like you just showed, and this like cool new website. Um, and yeah, so basically you're able to, as far as I'm aware, make a monthly contribution like you do, or if you want to actually put the land that you're on and it exists that your house is on, you could literally do that. Say like you own this plot of land, for example. um you're going to continue to live there because you need a place to live, but like after you move, what is going to happen to it? Like it could be just put into this trust so that moving forward, that's still in the tribe, like the tribe has access to that as we should. um but I guess ideally right now we're creating this not just for like a long-term thing like that, like where people will eventually give land to us in the future, but like right now we're actively trying to raise money and see what kind of land that we can put into this trust to have access to right now, so that my relatives who are much older have a place to live and be and exist and be healthy. um but yeah, um monthly like money donations, and I believe that, I don't know if it's set up right now, but at one point we were talking about setting up like a mutual aid section too. So aside from land, if you have something else that you think would be um, helpful to any Piscataway folks, there's a section to talk about that. And if it's not there, just send an email. Somebody hit us up and was like, I have GIS skills and map making skills, like, is that helpful? I was like, yes, it is actually. Especially as we do this project and get access to land, we're gonna need stuff like that. But yeah, it's just a way to, I guess, give back, and I feel like that's allyship. That's a good allyship. I didn't know you were a monthly uh, donor, Eliza. That's cool.
The moment I heard about it, I told you I was going to donate. You said it wasn't available, and I found it again, and I donated.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about it already, and didn't know if there was a tribe in this area who they set up and able to accept it. So your message that Aria and I got from you was like exactly what was on my mind.
Perfect timing.
Um, it leads me to another question, though, which is um, a lot of the Nanjamoy, and I'll screen share again so I can show people this map. A lot of the peninsula of the Nanjamoy is actually conserved. Oops, those are my notes, everybody. Is actually protected. So yes, Charles County is developing fast, but the Nanjamoy is this part out here. And the Nature Conservancy has this big central holding right here in the middle. And then there's all sorts of things. There's state-owned lands, the Department of
See the map.
I'm sorry?
We cannot see the map.
Oh.
We see your I see your mouse.
You see the mouse, but not the map? All right, let me try again. Thanks for letting me know. How do I do that?
Yeah, it was just, yeah.
I'm just going to share my whole computer desktop so you can all just see what I see. Here we go. How about now?
Yes.
Okay. So Nanjamoy Peninsula out here in Charles County. And by the way, we call it the green thumb or the lungs of Washington, D.C., because it's really forested. And then D.C. is just, up this way a little bit. And so this is the largest, as Val said, the largest tract of forest land in Maryland. And, that's oxygen for all of us. But you can see the Nature Conservancy has this really big land holding right here. And then the Department of Natural Resources of Maryland has a lot of land holdings as well. And there's a number of other kinds of protected categories. Those are the two sort of biggest and most permanent in the area. But as you can see from, I don't know if you can read these little categories, but there's easements, there's Maryland Historic Trust lands and smaller parcels and things like that. So the Origis was like in one of these non-protected sections in the middle, but you can see how much of the peninsula is protected and therefore, is forested. But to a point you made when we were talking earlier today, Val, a question I wanted to ask you is if, there's land that you can control. I suppose I'd say own, although ownership is, as you say, a really modern invention for land. And then there's also land that it's there and it's safe and that the forest on it can stay healthy. And a lot of this land is in that second category, that your older relatives might not be able to physically live there, but they can visit it and enjoy it. And I wonder if you or they are ever have an active role in any of the management of those lands, or an advisory role, or is there any way that some of the landowners, I don't want to single out any one, like the Nature Conservancy or DNR or any of these specific landowners, but do any of these landowners ever consult with the tribe through leadership to, make decisions about what they should do with the land?
No, not that I know of, at least. I mean, I'm just saying no because I mean, they don't contact me, but I also don't expect nobody to contact me. Like, you should not be contacting a youth. Like, there are so many other people who need. So I'm gonna say no because that's usually what happens, and it's usually the truth. But I could also just say, I don't know because I'm not receiving those emails or calls or something. Which, I mean, in a way, I'm like good. Yeah, I'm a baby. It's people above me you need to be consulting with. When people do just call me cold and ask me, and I'm like, who do you think I am? I mean, I appreciate it, but also no. There was something that you said earlier I want to touch on, and I'm slowly forgetting about it. I think it was somewhere along the lines of allyship. And I guess it was another thing about what ally. Oh, I guess when you said something about land ownership, let me first say that, like, we obviously do not condone or like or prefer or even believe in the ownership of land. It's silly, it's unsustainable, it's wrong. It's just, with this land trust, for example, it's just what is going to help mitigate this problem while the settler state is here. Um, it's just we to create a land trust, and it's not like, in a way, it's better though. It's not one person owning it; it's a collective of people having ownership, I guess, and access to it, and that's just basically so that it's not for anybody else, really. I mean, in a way, it is, because of course people are, welcome, but like it's for our people, and yeah. Well, the thing that you said earlier though about allyship, I guess when I'm thinking about being in this movement and all of the work that we do and the ways that we put our bodies on the line, and I think about like, if we do a lot to protect the land during this movement, during the environmental or the climate movement. We're like freaking, what do you call it? Chaining ourselves and handcuffing ourselves to things. Like, I'm thinking about like handcuffing myself to this tractor with Kelly Canavan, if you know her, local activist. And this was for like the compressor station, but I'm just giving this as an example. I'm like, I'm doing this because I know that I feel like I have to, and I have to in order to basically like be Piscataway, to continue that. Like, why do I have to lay down on the ground for hours at a time, you know, with zip ties around my hands because I'm like being arrested, or some other indigenous people are being arrested. Why did it, why do we got to do this to be indigenous now, like, just to protect where we come from and who we are? Because like, we can't, I want people to understand. That's why I'm talking about this. I just want y'all to understand, like, we're protecting everything it means to be who we are when we're here. And I guess that's what I was saying earlier. I get really frustrated with people who are just, you know, they're going to go home at the end of the day. They're not sitting with us, and they're not really with it. They're not really understanding the depth. And I just want y'all to understand that we're really trying to protect what we got left that is still being at stake. Like, colonization isn't over, y'all. Like, it's still here. We still live in this place is called the United States. Like, we didn't name it that. Like, y'all didn't even know the name of our tribes. Like, this is colonization. That is colonization. Yeah, I just want people to understand that. And I guess at the end of the day, like, the other thing that strikes me about this, when I feel like, in my opinion, and I know others might not agree with this point, but I feel like if, and this has to do with allyship, and I think if white people did this thing, this would mean like real allyship. This means to me like you were really down. If you're like actively trying to find this, what I'm talking about, like, where I come from, it means a lot to me, and it's why I do the work that I do, and it's why I love so hard, and it's like why I'm out there, and it's why that I'm doing this work that I'm doing here on a farm. I need white people to do that for themselves. Like, y'all have got to figure out, if you don't already know, where your people come from. Figure out, where exactly they came from, the roles, in those cultures and in those communities, what it was like to live traditionally prior to colonization, and how freaking cool and amazing it is, and have some sense of pride in that. Because one, it's going to save our lives, because people are going to stop trying to dress up as a bunch of Indians. That's going to save our culture. That's going to stop a cultural genocide. And also, like, that also contributes to violence against Native women because they specifically dress up as us. But anyway, and being sexualized. But yeah, if at the end of the day white folks aren't doing that kind of stuff, and aren't, you know, looking into what their ways are, I feel like, you know, if they're not actively trying to connect with where they came from, if y'all are not trying to actively find the same connection that we have to our land and to this place, um, the languages, their ways, I feel like we failed. Like, I feel like we have failed in this movement. And this is where I'm like, okay, some people definitely won't agree with me when I say that. But like, I feel like there is still another layer, a layer to this movement that's telling me, at least I'm hearing, uh, everybody needs to like return to their people, to their ancestors. Yeah, the spiritual connection. Yeah, we need to return to that, because that is ultimately where we're in service to the earth. That's when we're in service to the thing that we're claiming to protect right now. We're always going to be in defense until, like, the way that like indigenous people live is like the norm around the world. When everybody's no longer like working for the man or for an economy or for like these other weird things, and are actually in service to the land and of each other, and money isn't even a thing, I won't live to see it. But yeah, I think we're always going to be playing defense until that happens. Yeah, the real allyship to me is like, if until y'all understand that, I don't even know what is allyship. Like, yeah, I see some people in the chat.
Yeah, and there's a lot of questions if you want to look at some of them. And maybe, well, you do. I guess I want to reflect as a resource for the audience the book we were talking about earlier, Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. If folks haven't read it, she has another chapter, Val, besides the one we talked about earlier today, right, on becoming Indigenous. And she says very similar message to what you just said, which is we were all Indigenous once. Like, where did we come from? What were those traditions? Maybe those specific traditions can't be replicated, but what does it mean to become Indigenous now in this new place? Can you bring those values, or you know, the most important part, meaning remembering that the land sustains us. I mean, fundamentally, that's it, right? Like, that's why we need to live like Indigenous people, is because if we don't, the land is not enough, can't sustain us.
The answers are there. Yeah, the answers are in there. And the answers are in the lands that you come from traditionally. Like, I don't know how people are talking about like they're returning to their ways, and I'm like, or like they're trying to re-indigenize, and I'm like, my dude, why are you living in Maryland? Why are you living in like freaking North Carolina? Why did you think that you're going to re-indigenize as a white individual in Bethesda? Like, you need to return to where your people are buried, or at least just visit. Go make a effort to go visit. Make that a vacation. Stop going to freaking Trinidad or wherever the hell, like the islands that are just colonized. Stop going to Hawaii for a vacation. Y'all need to take a vacation to Europe. Like, go visit and learn. And this, I'm not even just saying that to be mean. I know you're laughing about it.
Oh
But I
no.
mean, for real, please, I'm begging you. I still have like white people in my family. I would love to like reconnect with that side. It's just a little expensive. I don't got it in my budget right now. I'm a farmer. I'm below the poverty line. But eventually, I know it's in my intention to go and visit. And I talk with my moms all the time, like with where their people come, or where my mom's side comes from. Like, I was raised by my father's side here in Southern Maryland, born and raised here. They are the people who raised me, and I know that my mom's side is just like their connections are still in what is Germany and Poland, and it even dates back further than that. We're doing some digging, hopefully more of it together, because I'm like, that's still, those are my ancestors, and there's a connection there, and that should like, it should be
Yep.
known. It needs to be discovered. Those ancestors are so far away because they know that I don't, speak to them enough. I definitely feel way more guided by the ancestors whose lands I live on, and those who, you know, by the folks who raised me.
Yeah.
There's still more work to we all need to be doing, and that is where it's at. Like, go back and visit. But a part of me, I'm like a little conflicted because I'm like, I really don't mess with jet fuel. Like, I can't.
You can sail there. Like,
Yes, Greta.
yeah,
Greta did it.
yeah.
Come
Yeah.
on, we all about to be like Greta. We
Let's do it. Let's sail to Europe. I've been to try to visit at least one of the places where I know my ancestors came from, and um, it was incredible. It was moving. Um, it did feel like layers and layers and layers of history,
Mm.
um, but they were also, they were theirs. Well, this is my story, of course. This isn't the night for my story, but it's. But we do all have stories, right? And I think that's one of the things you're telling us is find our stories. Our stories of people and where and the space where they come from, and really sit with those stories and learn from them. You know.
Ooh, somebody is asking. Oh, there's actually a few questions. I'm opening the Q&A.
Let's go for it. Yeah, let's do
Hi,
it.
everybody. Okay. Oh, I don't even know which one to. Okay, Pat Wellington. Okay, if I put answer live, what happens?
It's just it would like let Pat know electronically that you're ready to speak about it. All you need to do is say, "I'm going to answer this question. I'll take care of the rest."
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna answer Pat Wellington's really quick. About diabetes. Yeah, I for sure. And actually, we put that in our um, back when COVID first started, we put out an ask to basically help certain individuals, like Piscataway individuals, through mutual aid and for like just surviving the beginning of a pandemic. And one of the reasons that I found being a common thing in like so many Native peoples like asked for support during that time, and it was one that resonated with us too, was like, yeah, diabetes is a thing. I don't know if I can actually speak for, and I can't, but like I don't know if that's like a common thing around all of Piscataway people, but I for sure know that Cedarville people got some diabetes issues. Um, if so, are you looking to follow a more natural diet of your ancestors? Yes, I am. That's actually one of the big reasons. That's what I really want to be doing on land. Like, if that, I just want to be growing and eating all of the things that my ancestors ate. Like, there's a few things that, I still do eat, but it's more like it's not incorporated in my diet as much as I want it to be. Like, it's not a daily thing, unfortunately. It's more of a special occasion, or when I see certain family members, like, I want that to be in my diet every single day. And I need land in order to do that because I'm going to need to grow it. And I can't drive to like that one place. I know there's a food forest that we started. Like, I want that to be out in my backyard, like, or at least one of them to be in my backyard, just so that we have access to that and it's in an easy place. Um, so yeah, thanks for that question. But how can someone else ask a question? But how can an anonymous question? How can climate refugees connect with their land when they've been displaced and can't connect back? That's one that hurts my heart. I honestly don't know. I guess the only advice that I would give you, only because when I ask for help in this way, it has always worked. If you've been displaced and you can't connect back, I guess really just speak to your ancestors and honor them in the best way that you can. Ask them for guidance and ask them for help and ask them often and speak to them often. Give them offerings and show them love. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think about this often. I don't know. I don't know the answer to it. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. I'll say that as someone whose ancestors were displaced as refugees, not from climate, but from genocides in Europe as a Jew, that's actually one of the things that the becoming Indigenous section of Robin Wall Kimmerer's book really spoke to me about, like, we're here now. I don't know where the bones of my ancestors are buried. I can't find them. They were in some cases burned. So so I can't use that space as a place to go to, and it's kind of a poison space anyway for me. I don't want to live in Europe. Like, that's not doesn't feel like the right place to live. But I can speak to them, and I can treat the place where I do live as a place where I need to live as sustainably as I possibly can, and allow it to support me. Um, there's a similarity there. I feel. I mean, people have been colonists and refugees and displaced for, it's not new. Many, 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 many generations of people have been uprooted from when we were last Indigenous. So it's deep. It's deep. It's deeply painful for so many of us, I think. I have no answers either. I was just reflecting that that's a book that I just read really recently that did help me with that a little bit.
Barbara Briggs asked a question about the solar project. And unfortunately, I guess I'll just answer it really quick. I don't know the status of it, unfortunately. We were talking about that earlier. We were both asking each other what was the status of it. And I had left because we were waiting for so long for something to happen and something to change after we had ran that campaign. And after we got, like, the permit was denied, and then after that we were really waiting for the next steps and just trying to figure out what the folks were going to do. And unfortunately, I still don't know the status. I had to step away because it was getting very, really overwhelming, and it was like a conflict in interest of what should happen with the land. And that's what I was saying earlier. Like, there was a lot of environmental activists around Charles County area who were like trying to figure out what to do with the land instead, and had these ideas of what to do. And I'm like, why are you not in court? Like that. And that's where I was talking about earlier, Eliza, with like the conflict and interest, or like the reasons why we're all here. And I'm like here because I'm not just like trying to protect the environment. I'm trying to protect like literally everything that a whole entire group of people come from. And like to have land like that would be amazing. And I feel like I had mentioned it so many times about, okay, actually, yeah, I think we deserve this land. And yeah, to answer your question, Barbara, I don't know yet. And we need to figure it out. It doesn't sound like anything's really popping off. I've asked everybody in our group,
Yeah.
and no one's heard anything.
I mean, my understanding is that getting the Clean Water Act permit killed the solar project itself right now, but it doesn't say what the family, because the family could try other things to do with the land, or sell it for some other purpose or not. It's my understanding is that's the part, the solar project is off the books, but what else happens to the land is unsettled, as you say. Do you want to answer Pat's other question? Do you know about the River Farm property?
I don't even know the Horticultural Society. I actually have no idea, and I would love more information about that. I mean, it's your ancestral land. Like, all of this is our ancestral land, like all of it. Like Charles County, DC, Montgomery County, PG County.
This is in Virginia. So this property is actually right next to Mount Vernon.
Oh, yes.
Accokeek, right.
Yes, that is it too. That's our land too. Like,
exactly. So I often mostly hear about the Maryland side, but I know that now you're at Silvanaqua. You're actually in Virginia right now. You're down in Prince William County, right?
That is Westmoreland.
Okay.
Westmoreland County.
Westmoreland. Yeah, so the River Farm property is also the ancestral Piscataway homelands.
Wow, I've never even heard of that Horticultural Society. I'm interested now.
It's very controversial in Fairfax County right now. It's similarly, it's a previously sort of preserved property that is for sale, and may be developed. It's right down there by the river near Mount Vernon. It's for sale, Val.
Okay.
It's got a big old house on it.
Y'all better donate to this land back projects.
Yep. Let's make sure that land back link is in the chat again. Anybody
Yeah.
wants to paste it back
Because
in?
we should not be spending our own money on buying our land back. We shouldn't even have to buy our land back. That should just be a donation, y'all. Yeah, it should. I can't put a dime toward it. It kills me to even think about using my own money to buy my own land back. That's ridiculous.
Um,
Gonna pour myself some tea.
do so, please.
Hold on.
Well, Val's pouring their tea. I'll encourage anyone who wants to add any other questions. We have about 10 more minutes left to talk, and we can cover a couple more questions in that time. We can also, one thing we haven't done for our audience is talk in detail about the tribe. And as Val said, they're a youth, not a leader. Val speaks on Val's behalf, not on behalf of the tribe. But we do have a video we can show that introduces Natalie Proctor, the clan mother, talking a little bit about the tribe, and you can find it on the website. So I don't know would you find it helpful to play that, Val? Do you think that?
Oh yeah, go ahead. I actually haven't watched it in a while, and she's so cute in this video.
It is. It's a really lovely video. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to work on getting my screen share to work properly now. And while I do this, everyone, if you have any other questions you want to drop in, please do. Okay, desktop, share sound, video clip. All right, here's the main page.
My name is Natalie Standing. Welcome. My name is Natalie Standing on the Rock, and I am the elected tribal chair for the Wild Turkey Clan Cedarville Band of Piscataway Indians. Our traditional territory included what is called Maryland, Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia, and a small portion of Pennsylvania. Above me, you will learn the definitions of tribe, clan, and band. Thank you so much for visiting our website, and we hope that you find it informative and healing. Manishi.
She's so cute.
And is she your aunt? Is that right? Or you call her auntie?
I feel like she's an auntie.
Yeah.
I don't know, honestly. She feels like an auntie to me. Yeah. She's a cousin. I don't know how. Yeah.
There are a lot of Proctors though, and we can assume that you're all related and you're part of the Turkey clan, right?
Oh God. We're not all part of the Turkey clan. I just want to say that. No.
There's even more Proctors than that. Okay.
Oh my God, for real.
You know what? She closed with a closing greeting in Piscataway, and actually that led to a question that I hadn't prepped for you, but I was wondering about language. Do you speak much Piscataway, or is it preserved? Are people teaching it?
Yeah, we have. So I don't. It's actually really difficult. Our language. We have a elder or a couple folks, but in particular, there's one elder who kind of teaches off and on. But I'm hoping that he will open up for a virtual space more often to learn language, because I've been finding myself like teaching myself a little bit more on my own free time and with like a group text of like some other Piscataway cousins and relatives, which is really cute, but it's not enough. You have to practice every single day. So no, yeah, Lenape is hard to learn. It's I'm looking at this like whiteboard that I just have in my room of all of these words and phrases that I just stare at from time to time throughout my day, and kind of just like try to make sure I do pronunciation correctly. And yeah, there were like these flashcards laying around at Chris Newman's house, and I was like, dang, this is a really good idea. Like I've had flashcards before, but like I was like, why did I neglect them? Like I guess that's not typically my learning style. So yeah, I was like, I thought of the idea of like writing them on my whiteboard so they're just all there all the time. And so yeah, it, so no, to answer your question, I don't speak
Yeah.
our language. I understand a little bit, like the tiniest bit, but it's hard, especially when everyone's around you speaking English all the time. There's really no one challenging you. Yeah,
Yeah. And the grammar structure is very, very different.
it's incredibly different. Yeah, it's really not the same way. And it's really hard to translate things. Like, you can't actually translate a lot of what is in English into, like, yeah, there is incredibly different. It's, as you learn it though, your brain kind of changes, like the way you think about things, it rewires you a little bit, or maybe not even a little bit, actually, it rewires you.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get on that level, so hopefully that's, that's going to be my, I really need to dedicate more time to that. That's important to me. um
Yeah.
yeah, I'm trying to keep an eye on this chat.
Okay. Yeah, there's the chat and there's the Q&A. So maybe if there's one or two last things you want to get at, and there's a couple of questions that came through in the chat rather than the Q&A, and I'll just read them to you. You can decide which you might, if you want to talk to any. One that came in was a question about not being aware that Maryland had any recognized tribes.
Oh, I think I responded to that one.
Oh, okay, great. You answered it. And if you want to just summarize orally what the answer to that question is.
Oh yeah, I guess if you're talking about like actual recognition from the government, we have state recognition. So basically what that means, if you're not familiar, is that we have like a professional relationship with the state. And that's really all that means for the
Yeah.
most part, I guess. I mean,
But not having federal recognition means that,
we don't have that relationship with the federal government.
right. And then another question in the chat is, what would you say to people that want to develop a deep spiritual connection to the land they're on, bought or buy, but they may not be able to travel to where their ancestors are? And another is, what emotions and common ground should different people come from to prioritize the environment?
Yeah, I don't know, understand that question quite honestly. I'm not really sure.
And Renee, if you want to put something in the chat that might help us respond to that, please do. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
any final thoughts you want to close us out with?
Um,
Besides the link again to the Land Back Project, which I've dropped at the bottom of the chat, everyone.
and Sylvan Aqua Farms.
Sylvan Aqua Farms, great.
I can't really think of anything off the top of my head. I think I'm starting to wind down. Actually, 8 o'clock is, as a farmer, that's my bedtime. So I'm already
Getting
feeling,
more.
yeah, I'm starting to tap out. Yeah. No, I'm trying to think of something. If there are any other Piscataway people or anybody here watching, feel free to drop your links in the chat, because that's important. And I really want to uplift others, but I'm also without the right. Yeah.
You wanted to share some resources this afternoon when we were speaking. You said you wanted to share ways that people can get involved with any other campaigns that you know are ongoing, like the big pipeline campaigns in the Midwest.
Yeah.
Other campaigns to support. So please, anyone who has links that you want to drop in the chat, please do.
Yeah, feel free. And actually just keep your eyes on what's happening on Line 3 up in Minnesota. Keep your eyes peeled of what's happening in Hawaii with the telescope and the battle for that Indigenous Hawaiians are facing as that telescope threatens their ancestral lands. And no dapple, and there's actually a whole bunch of them. It's just I'm drawing a blank as I'm trying to keep myself together.
Yeah. So it's not just pipelines, it's also telescopes. It's anything on the land that has so far survived.
I'm trying to think if there's a place where, I don't typically like my Instagram out there or anything. Actually, I just made a public Instagram. Doesn't really have anything on it. You can follow me though. My @ is Algonquin.
Did I get that right on Instagram?
Oh, that's actually it. Yeah, that was perfect.
All right. Well, you said it. You pronounced it perfectly that I could spell it. So, um, well, Algonquin. Uh, now that we have a wonderful new nickname for you, I think we can leave it and let you go to bed. I know that you'll be up very early as a farmer. So I just want to really thank you again for spending time with us. I really appreciate both your your joy and love and delight in sharing and sharing with us your anger. Thank you.
Oh yeah.
That's
Thank you for
important.
opening the space and having me and hitting me up and inviting me. This was cool.
Yeah.
And it's good to connect with you again.